morning, good morning, good morning, and a huge warm welcome to Carnation Crafts. We're live in the Carnation Crafts studio, and as always, it's wonderful to have your company. Exciting day today. It is the launch of Harvest Echoes on Carnation Crafts, and I know lots of you wait for it to come to Carnation. It's finally here. It went live last night at 5 o'clock. I did do a Facebook preview for you all last night. And all of the vignettes are there for your perusal as well. It's a stunning collection, really, really beautiful rustic collection. You'll find it on the Carnation Crafts website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. You'll find it under the number 230901. It's got a show price today of $98.99, but that is only if you use your newsletter code. If you don't use that code, it is going to be at the price of $109.99. So please make sure you've got that code and you get it used, and that's going to give you a 10% discount. And it's free P&P because it's under the £50 threshold. So with that being said, what is Harvest Echoes? Well, it's a really, really stunning collection, and it's got all of these gorgeous floral elements, rustic elements, beautiful, beautiful things to make, to see, to touch, to feel, all of the goodness that is Carnation. We are going to go through the boards, and we're going to go through some finished samples, and we're going to do some demos for you today. But first of all, let's have a little look at this absolutely stunning collection. Beautiful, right? Really, really pretty. We've got samples here of it finished. So essentially what you're getting is this gorgeous card shape that's got kind of shelves that you fit in. It will fold flat for postage, and there's some really clever little elements that allow you to place little things on your shelf, and I'll show you how all of that works. Then we've got a beautiful design to build it up. You can add extra panels like this if you so choose in order to elongate the card, and there are more panels and other things that you can also add to make it even larger. What we've got is a full 3D effect here. It's absolutely stunning. It's beautiful, and we can really dress it up or dress it down. It's entirely up to you how you want to play with it. It's not the only thing that we can do with this collection. There are other absolutely stunning alternatives with it here, such as this, where you're creating with florals. This card shape is an extra card shape that we've got today. It is outside of the bundle, but it does sell very fast. So just to warn you, if you want to get hold of this, this is going to be fastest finger first. It's your lace ellipse card shape, and it's super, super pretty. That's on 230908. And you'll see this being used a lot throughout the finished samples because it's got a really strong back into it. So when we use both of them together, so you've got this lace detail at the back, that allows us to add lace detail to that main card shape. And by that I mean adding in things like this. You can see where it pokes through just behind those curtains. So with the same collection, we're looking at two very, very different things, very different visuals, and they're both extremely beautiful. Yes, Ms. Tiztaz?
Karen has asked, what does the card shape measure?
Karen, let me find you a ruler. Which one? Well, we'll do both, and then we don't have to wonder at that stage. The actual main card shape in its greatest form is 20 centimeters by 9.5, and if we do that in inches, that's going to be sort of, well, I suppose 3.5 by 7.5. So that one's quite a big size, as you would expect. And then this one, we are looking at just under 5, I guess. 4 3/4, shall we say, Karen, by 7 3/4, nearly 8 inches. So both of them really good size. But can I just say that obviously with the lace ellipse that I'm showing you there, if you use the extra die on the outside, it will take it to 8 inches because obviously you've got your card base layer as well, so it will take it to that full size. It just depends. I was just measuring, obviously, this one that I had in my hand. But with the lace ellipse, we can then go to doing your full 8x8 and using your quadrants. So cutting off the lace panels and using those around an 8x8 like this one, which is so pretty, right? We're really starting to bring in textural details on the outsides of our card, and we can really frame everything in a really beautiful way. It's important to have those details, the shadow play that you can get from them, the visual that you get from them, and the impact that it has when it frames everything round. If you want to stick with the 8x8 format, but you want it to be more full, you can use the elements from this collection to build in something spectacular as well. So you don't need to just stick with a series of formats. Both of these, this one, up, she says, knocking it all over. This one, up, this one is more pared back. There's nothing really that smacks purely of Easter with that. If you took away the pumpkin, there's nothing autumn about that one. But this one is obviously full of those autumn tones. You're getting a really full snapshot, aren't you, of a full Easter parade. And again, we can bring that in with the main card shape that you get within this collection by bringing in all of your autumnal tones. You've got your your acorns going around the side. You've got your autumnal flow. Isn't it pretty? Isn't that just so stunning? All of these elements coming through, and these little shelves that hold everything on that can be shaped and brought together. Just stunning, absolutely stunning. There's so much that you're going to get with this collection. I'm going to go through the boards with you, and then once we've done that, we'll have a look at some more of the DT samples, and then we'll get into demo. But I wanted to give you a visual before we got any further, just so you can see what it is that you're investing into and how far your crafting is going to go with it. Can I just give a little shout out to this while I'm here? Because, I don't know if I showed this a second ago, but just look at that. When you start to see that dimension coming through on a card, that at the side, the reason this card really specifically stands out, this is obviously so fine, isn't it, and delicate and very, very pretty. When we start to skirt around and we use a load of dimension, what we do is fill the card visually. It's so impactful, that card, and it's just about using your decoupage elements. So remember to layer things up and bring things in. Even when you're using something very delicate like this, you can absolutely do that to change that tone. Really pretty. So I'm going to take you to the boards, and we're going to have a look at what you're getting, and then once we've done that, we'll look at some more DT samples, and then I will get to the demo. So your main card shape, stunning, absolutely beautiful, isn't it? And this is what we were looking at with those shelves. So these are all, you can just see if I push them down, they move. They're drawers or shelves, and they attach to, you put two of these together and they attach and they sit back. Now the problem with that is if they were to go through something that's the same size, what stops them from opening and closing? And we use this, it's a stopper. Everything has been thought through. This is a stopper to stop it sort of just slipping back and forth. So it allows it to sit, but it still allows you to fold it flat for posting, which is what we need. Then you've got your curtain detail here, and this is so beautifully done with the line detail that it means you can shape it by hand. You can literally just finely sort of push it together into a round and create the most gorgeous fabric detail. You've even got a curtain rod. I mean, that's how much detail they're going to. So if you take the curtain and the curtain rod away from this, for instance, think of the room decor that you're making. Beautiful. We've got books that sit on your shelves. You've got a little frame here. All of this will go on your shelves. The little candles, of course. You've got cornices. Then you've got your corner elements. Plus you've got this, which is actually a little cover for the front of the shelves. So even that detail was taken care of. There's so many different ways of bringing this together. You can see on your screen the differences that we're making. I love these French doors. I think they're beautiful. These little extra elements, these details, allow us to fold this in, tuck them into the little slots, and that allows us to tuck these details into these. Really clever, super, super important card shape, as always from Carnation. This isn't that extraordinary. There's always one board in every collection where I just go, oh, wow, that is beautiful, just breathtaking, isn't it? The detail, the absolute infinitesimal detail, down to the little pumpkin that sits here at the front of this one, all of those elements, really, really pretty. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. This is me and my thing. Because Carnation is so detailed, actually that's the first time I saw the pumpkin in that. I just thought it was a floral. So I'm going to be totally honest with you because I prefer to tell you all the truth. But it is the case, isn't it? Because I've used that and decoupaged it and I still had not realised all of those elements that are coming through. You've got the little pumpkins at the side, which I love. I love white pumpkins. There's something about them. This is beautiful and this is stunning. If you make a card, just make a DL, put this in the centre and put 2 of these on this side and 2 of these on this side. You've got something extraordinary. Really beautiful paired back pieces. Again, if you cut a card that is a DL and you put in, say, 3 apertures and just put in 3 florals, beautiful. You don't need to go to excesses with Carnation because the artwork is so detailed that actually a lot of the work is done for us. And isn't that just a beautiful, beautiful board? Just all of this stunning. But I will say, yes, obviously that is for this time of year. But the sunflowers, that's the only bit that I would say you would just be using for autumn. I would say the rest of it is all year round, right? Just beautiful, really, really stunning. My mum used to have something like this in the house. I remember it when I was a littly. Then you've got your pumpkin wagon, which I love. This is silly, useful. So that card that we were talking about, when you have that long detail where it's the shelving unit, the main card shape. If I was to just use some adhesive and stick this to the side, put my pumpkins on the top of it, do you see how I've now elongated that whole visual? And again, I could put something else at the other side. So suddenly this card becomes much longer. It's up to you how you want to play. So you make those real wow factor cards with this collection. Silly sort of, it's just extraordinary. We're going from the, it's always the case with Carnation, we go from the sublime to the ridiculous. They're just beautiful. And it's because the artwork's done in-house. And so the care and the attention and the detail, they know it's gone into every single thing that they do because they manage it in-house. And that's really important. Down to your pumpkins here where you've got your differences in height. This isn't done accidentally. You know, it's not just a case of that they've done these 3. It's that we've got your difference in height coming down so you can stack them. And that's really important as well. Everything taken care of, and I love the colours in all of these, and I really like white pumpkins. I paint my pumpkins white. I don't think anyone needs to know that, but I always paint my pumpkins white. I just really like white pumpkins. Your acorn flourish, beautiful. You can do so much with these. These little ones are super important as well. They can all be shaped out, but aren't the colours really pretty? Really gorgeous how you can shape them. You could make a card just from these little pieces. They're so kind of tactile, aren't they? There's something about them, and I'll show you a card where that really does go to great use as we're going through the finished samples. Then we've got this. I love this, your toys. That kind of going back to your youth, going back to childhood, but nostalgic childhood, where you've got the little ducks obviously on wheels. You've got your toy tractor, you've got your toy trucks in both sizes. Now obviously this one will fit on the shelves, this one fits in front of the shelves, so you're really playing with dimension, you're playing with perspective, lots of different elements to it. You can have the 2 next to each other. And then finally for this collection, really important board. I was showing you before how you could add in the pumpkin wagon to your main card shape. Again, you can add in the table. So you could have the pumpkin wagon at one side, the table at the other. You're creating almost a shop display. Stunning use of the lantern. Love that lantern. I think it could come in for so many different collections. Beautiful piece because of the height of it. Often when we get lamps, they're very short. But the table sits obviously excuse me, with your jug and your bucket and your bowl all sitting on there. Obviously the jug as well fits beautifully into the bowl, so you can have that wash stand, that old kind of wash stand sense, of which I own a wash stand. I do love them very much. There's something about them. That is your Harvest Echoes collection. You'll find it on the Carnation Crafts website, 230901. It is absolutely gorgeous. Usual price of $109.99. You'll get a best price today of $98.99. That's if you use the code from your newsletter, and you're going to get free P&P in the UK. Now, one more die that we've got, I have mentioned it before, is the lace ellipse card shape. You've seen it in a lot of samples. You'll go on to see it in a lot of samples. Incredibly important piece. If you are thinking, you know, that you really like the look of this, it is one of the most versatile, because yes, you get your card base, then you get your mats, you get this filigree piece. You can see it better here than I showed you last night on Facebook. Can you see the pip marks, the little cut lines that go all the way around it? Well, that's because we can take these two pieces away just with little snips on a scissor. We can use them on the made card shape. We can use them independently. They can become borders. They can become an L on a card. They have got so many uses away from the card shape, but they're beautiful with it. Again, this piece, isn't it gorgeous as a textural background? Really, really beautiful. You've also got a backing for that, so if you want to use that separately, you absolutely can. And if you want to just snip at this point and this point, you can just use that one piece. It's a gorgeous bookmark, isn't it? Really pretty. There's so many aspects to this, so loads of ways of cutting into it, shaping it, and merging it in different card forms that we've got. I have to say, if you do a normal kind of rectangle card and you add these onto the side, so cut these away just on a normal rectangle, so you're adding them at the edge, that makes a super elongated card as well. It just transforms it into this really stunning piece. Your lace ellipse is 230908, $29.99 on the Carnation Crafts website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. $2.95 UK P&P on that, because it is under the £50 threshold. You can also add in the perfect papers for the Harvest Echoes collection, and they are absolutely beautiful. Done really nicely for this because they're muted tones, but they absolutely go with the idea of autumn, but they also take you through different crafting tones as well. You certainly don't need to use them with any autumnal cards. They're a really beautiful set of backings for most cards that you make. You've got your blues, you've got your pinks, and you've got your toned muted honey tones. 230909, $14.99 today, $2.95 UK P&P. Now, before I go any further, I'll just have a chat with you about US shipping and handling, which is slightly different to the UK P&P. Your shipping and handling, if you are international, is $4.95 for the whole collection, or if you want to buy it with the perfect papers, you're going to take that up to $14.95. Still picked, packed and posted immediately for you, but obviously it's got to get to you, so it takes a wee bit longer than in the UK. In the UK, if you purchase this today, you are likely to have it in your hands tomorrow, which is very nice. Yes, Miss Tisdaz.
Just going to say hello to a couple of people, both on YouTube and Facebook.
Hi.
So Terry has said, hello Taz, then hello Carla. So
Hello,
I'm
Terry.
first for a change. Annie has said, looking good, Carla. Linda said, good morning, Carla, Miss Taz, and everyone loved this collection. The floors are amazing, the card
Amazing,
shape,
right?
wow. Lorraine has messaged. Then over on Facebook, we've got Karen Vincent that says, good morning.
Hey, Karen.
Linda Wilson, Mags, Debbie Anderson, Jane, Sharon Curtis is in the building.
Sharon Curtis, you lovely, wonderful human.
Karen High, Catherine Sims, and Tracy Hurst has said it's in her basket.
We like Tracy. We like very much. You're going to love it, Tracy. It's just it's a playground. It's a playground of stunning detail, and that's a really nice way to play, isn't it? When you know that everything you make is going to look really good. And I will demo as well, just to show you that main card shape, because I think it's important. Also, Sharon, just to say, this will mean nothing to anybody else, I apologise, but Sharon, just to say, what you sent me a link to the other day, it's arrived. It arrived yesterday. It's very exciting. Right, so let's have a look at some finished samples. Can I just shout out to the DT as well, who, again, blew it out the park, didn't they? They make such awesome samples. This one's Barbara. Now, this is a different way of using the main card shape. So instead of using the shelves, Barbara's actually just stuck them to the front. So it's a different way of playing. It's up to you what you do. You don't have to play in the way that it is necessarily designed. Now, that's not to take anything away from Nick and his insane creative, skills and genius. It's just, it's yours. There's no crafting police. Whatever you want to do is up to you. So we can create in so many different ways. We look at that card shape, and if you start to bring it in instead with perfect papers, instead of just using the vignettes, and I will explain vignettes to those of you who are brand new, but can you see how suddenly it alters the design so much? Again, bringing in that ellipse card shape at the side, so you see how they parry so well. And it's just a change, isn't it? It's just how we do it differently. You'll get different designs, different looks by using it in different ways. I'm going to show you a few more with that main card shape, and then we're going to look at some alternatives. But I think this one is absolutely delicious, and it also shows you a different way of playing with it. So again, we're not using the shelves this time, but Janine has managed to give us incredible dimension. Now, without wanting to break the card at all, you can see the foam tape that goes down. So instead of having an open back, Janine now has a background to it, a border at the back, if you like, by using the perfect papers. And again, that gives a different look, doesn't it? It allows us to not see through to the rest of the room. But imagine if you have, say for instance, the one we've got here with Barbara. Imagine doing that in a shadow box with something behind. So that perspective is sitting as well. So both designs are so important. We're looking at different ways of making that card come together. And Janine on this one has used the lace ellipse card shape base. So a ton of different ways, a ton. One more different way, and then we'll go on to some alternative cards, is this. Look at this, Miss Taz. For a right Bobby Dazzler. Look at that. Joining two together. Okay, and that is going to give you an alternative view. And that's just sticking two pieces. So you get this beautiful double box shape. Now, obviously, mine have been stored in a box, these samples. I do apologise to you, but we've obviously got to store them. So they're not in their sort of healthiest glow, shall we say. But look at that. And I'll show you the back. Just held together. Stunning, right? Now, because you've got these score lines going down, they can be folded, and that's what Janine has done in the center. She's folded two score lines down and glued them together, so you can create a double instead of a single. That's how versatile it becomes. You could create a whole wall of these. You could literally just keep going and going, couldn't you? Because those curtain details in the middle cover any workings. Everything designed for you to literally go to town on. Now, your alternative designs, I wanted to talk to you about the Acorn Flourish, which I think probably when you look at the boards is the one we dismiss the easiest. But look at it. Look at that dimension. Super important piece. Isn't it beautiful? Sometimes those smaller details are just so important. And when we start to incorporate them with perfect papers, especially when we're using the small detail here, remember the rest of this is done with your block colours on your perfect papers, but this is done with the textured, or the I always say textured because of Dave Bradford, the pattern papers underneath here. So bringing those two together and then adding detail onto it gives you a really lovely, lovely visual, right? It's different. And then cool in the tones with that white panel at the back. I just love this collection. This card makes my little heart sing. There's something about it. It's rustic. If that was a shop, I would spend hours inside it. Are you laughing at the two little ducks in the car? They're so cute, right? If that was a shop, I would spend hours in that shop. That's right up my street. And I would certainly walk away with the ducks. It's just gorgeous. It's really pretty. So, so beautiful. You want to use different card shapes? Absolutely go to town. Okay? And again, the use of that card shape as well, the lace ellipse at the top here, where we're seeing that detail come through as a border on the top, a banner on the top. So suddenly, and again down here, you're suddenly seeing how this really, really starts to be the most extraordinary bundle. They never bring us duff collections, do they? They're all stunning. And it's the things we can do with them. If you want to pair that back, same idea by using the lace ellipse with those borders, but pair it right back. That's one vignette. Two, if you include the frame at the top. You don't need to go to excess. You don't need to strip it back. You just need to do you. Anything that makes you feel happy and comfortable. We've got so many good designs here. Okay. Simple use of nested dies here. That's your shabby nested. Simple use of your different types of nested dies. Everything coming together. I'll always say your nested dies are your most important. This lace ellipse folded in half and a single vignette with a stamp. You cannot make a bad card with Carnation, and they're so easy to graft with. How stunning is that? A gorgeous white background with that vivid pop of colour. This is where we're taking in the ability to design. And what I really love about this one is the use, you know, the lace ellipse I was saying about that middle filigree, just as your textural background, because you don't need it. White on white is beautiful, right? And white space is stunning. But when we break it up with an invisible, so to speak, background textural piece, or because that could be embossed effectively, couldn't it? It could be embossed or debossed. But it's there, and it's an important, very valuable factor to that card. Every aspect of Carnation, the bundles that we get, every aspect is an important piece. We'll go from there. We'll do a couple more and we'll get to demo. Look at that. Hugs and kisses. And the idea of bringing it all together. And that's obviously using it in portrait, but we can go landscape just as easily by bringing in. And they're so clean and fresh. And that's what I love about it. It's such a clean, fresh design. All these blues coming through with those oranges, aren't they beautiful? Dimension, dimension, dimension. Really, really pretty. And that's just a simple use of those extra pieces within the main card shape and then your lace ellipse card shape. So again, elongating out, everything playing and pairing together. Last one I'll show, actually I've got two more to show you and then we're done. And I will go to demo. Enjoy your birthday. Clean, simple, pretty, delicate. All of the goodness, right? But then that big pop of the sunflowers right in the center of that card. Absolutely gorgeous. And then finally, the last one that I'll show you. Stunning, right? Don't forget your enamel dots. Really, really pretty. And again, the enamel dots, if you look at something like these, look at your blue tones coming through with your yellows, your whites, and your pinks. Because every time with Carnation, they always use the same hues. So the enamel dots that they've chosen, these perfect pastels, they're going to parry with every single collection that Carnation make as a rule. I'm not saying that will be 100%, but literally 90% of all of their collections, these particular enamel dots are picked to work with. And that's really important for us as crafters, because again, I don't want to have to go shopping for something that might fit. I already know they fit, because Carnation chose them. Specifically, they chose those colours because it's the colours that they use, it's the hues they use. So please do go to the Carnation Crafts website for your enamel dots if you want them. I know they definitely did have them in stock. Whether or not they've sold out of them, I'm not sure. Because obviously they were super popular, but you'll just need to go and have a little ferret on their website and see if they're still available or not. Right, we are going to get to demo, and I'm just going to pop these on there, but just while I'm doing that, just to remind you, it's 230901. That's Harvest Echoes on the Carnation Crafts website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Yes, Miss Tiztaz.
Both Linda and Tracy have said that those finished samples are absolutely stunning.
Right, and there's value in seeing it because we all craft differently, and because you're seeing. So basically, I think, and here you go, you can answer at home. When I was showing those finished samples, I imagine that every single one of you watching will have at least with 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 gone, oh, I love that one. Now you might have done that with every single one of them, but we all style out differently. So there'll be some that fit within the remit of your style. And that's the joy of seeing the DT samples, right? Because they're all, that I can't remember exactly how many DT members there are, but every single one of them styles differently. And you can tell, like I've got to the point where often I can tell who made what because I see their samples so often. And that sort of fits in with how we craft, doesn't it? We all have our own individual and very unique and very important ways of styling. And your way of styling is no more important than anybody else's. We all have value in how we craft, which is a really nice place to be, right? Because we're all so different. Right, let's have a look at this main card shape. I'll be relatively quick on this. I won't do too much in the way of decorating, but we'll do some. It may be that this goes a little over 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, just to let you know. So your main card shape, you're going to cut it twice. And on one of them, I've cut away all of my shelves. So I've got one that's empty, one that's full. I've also cut away the top here. Now, you don't have to. You can actually fold back both of them and stick them together. I'm going to be honest, I don't like the bulk. I tend to get rid of the top bit. It is scored for you to do that. I just don't love having the extra bulk. Maybe cut yours a little bit more carefully than I did there. I've left a pit mark. But you've got this one here, and I've put red liner tape on the front of it. My shelves are going to fold back. Red liner at the front, shelves folding back, okay? And I'm going to score that down, or burnish it down. It's already scored for me. Turn it round and use my pokey to get that off. Okay? Now, I've got options here as to how to sort of get this to marry together perfectly, but it's super simple to do. It depends how you want to play it. Let's do it the easy way, Carla. Let's finally do something the easy way. I'm going to keep that down, and I'm going to place it onto my glass mat, onto that line at the bottom, so I can see that it's straight. I'm going to take this one, I'm going to hold this with my pinkies, get that to where I want it to be so I know it's exact. Once I know that's exact, I should theoretically be in control of the rest of it. Once it's laid down, I can check my edges, make sure they're okay, make sure that's pulled down, and commit. Everything taken care of. Here's my drawers coming through. Now I need to do something to these drawers, because if I just leave them, they're just gonna, you know, come out, and that's no good for me. I need to put a stopper there. So Nick gave us a stopper mechanism on this. Now these are longer line demos, I've got to say, because we're using construction, and one thing Carnation does beautifully is construction cards. And I love construction cards. I am a big advocate for construction cards. There's something about it. So I've got these little pieces here, these little wood pieces. You can cut these obviously in any colour you want, but there is a vignette for them. So the first thing I'm going to do is take wet glue. Now I will say you can use red liner on this process. The reason I haven't is, first of all, I'm in demo, so if I do it wrong, I've got no turning back, because obviously once you've committed to red liner tape, it's committed. So I'm using wet glue so that I don't mess it up. Well, it's me, so you know, the odds are still high, but I've got my little score marks. I'm just going to use my pokey, push through and squeeze, just burnish it, okay? And that's going to give me just a little folded piece. All I'm going to do then is put some wet glue using my applicator, not quite to the edge, but I am going to do it on both sides, on the middle, on the inside. Can you see what I'm doing? Sorry. So I place it to there. I'm then going to take that piece, I'm going to make sure I've got it roughly central onto my shelf, and then I'm going to squeeze and hold. And I've got to do that with all three, and that's going to create my stopper. While that's there, I'm going to take this piece and I'm just going to burnish it down. And that's going to help it not flip up, if that makes sense. Same thing again, just take my pokey so I can get that bend, and then I can do the rest. So not quite to the edge. I mean, obviously my shelf is not to the edge, so I don't need it to the edge. It doesn't matter if you do, they're going to stick together anyway. Hey up. Lost control, Miss Taz. So just suit it on like a hat. push. And that's going to give me a little stopper there as well. You need to make sure that the shelf is right up to that score line, so they all sit evenly. That's going to be your guide, because obviously if you've got one that's not on evenly, it won't quite hold the shape in the same way. It won't affect it too much, but just to give you a heads up. And then the last one, just to make sure. And what this is going to do is stopper your full A-frame so that it will hold in place without all of your shelves coming out. Okay. Now the reason that we burnish and we burnish well is that I want those shelves to sit flat. Okay. I don't want them rising up. So if I show you it from the front forward face, you can see that it's all sitting perfectly sort of towards myself. Now, if I was, for instance, not burnishing that properly, this bit, I'm just going to make sure they're glued down properly, this bit would sit forward, it would sit up. So make sure you burnish it, and once that's done, it will sit nicely for you, and you can decorate. Now, not going to lie, demoing this is not the easiest because of the way I need to, and you will need to, format it. I need to do it visually so you can see it. When you're at home, you can squirrel over it, right? And it's a little bit easier. So I'm just going to give myself a little bit of a break in advance and tell you that first, in case you're sitting there going, what is she doing? Right, some of the other things that we get, I'll just move this out of the way so you can see, are these. So if I just open these out. Now, with these, you'll notice I've got some fatter ones and some slimmer ones. So I've obviously given myself 4 of each. Okay, and these are clever. So what I'm going to do is make these into, let's call it bird wings. That'll make it the easiest for you to remember. I'll do it first on a bigger one so that you know when you get home what I've done visually. I've got 3 score lines on this, 2 at either side and 1 in the middle. I'm going to fold this straight into the center, so I've folded it in half. And then I'm going to create my bird wings. So holding this at the bottom, I'm going to pull, and I'm going to pull onto those score lines. All right. And then I'm just going to burnish them down. What that does, you see the little bird wings as such. What that does is then allow me to tuck into here, straight in to my little slot, and if I turn it for you, that'll sit straight. I can now glue that at the bottom and it will hold. I can then tuck things in. So let me show you visually so you know what I'm doing, because then I can't really decorate it fully from this angle. So I'm just using a little bit of wet glue onto this piece and a little bit onto this piece, making sure I don't get too far onto the main body of it. I'll keep those shut and I'll just bring this to myself. Now I need to turn it around because I want this to be at the front, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to slot that through as it is. Make sure my wings are now open and place. Now once that hits that shelf line, it's going to stay in place. Okay, so then if I just hold it at the bottom, I can burnish, oh not burnish, but you know what I mean, I can push that glue. You see how now I have this little slot, so when I take a pokey tool and I slot it inside, I've got an opening, okay, can you see that? And that is going to allow me, when I'm creating my card, to just take an element, for instance a book, and slot it straight in to where I've just placed that piece. Can you see? So now I've got these beautiful little slots. I can glue that into place. I'll turn it around so you can see. I can obviously glue those into place if I want it to stay permanently, or I can send my recipient a little bag of things that they can decorate their shelves with. They've got the options, which is a really nice thing to do for interactive cards. It's up to you what you choose to do, but it's a really nice extra little way of playing with it. Just make sure all of those wings are sealed down onto the front. So when I was just putting that in, you could see that the front of mine was coming up just a little bit here. And so what I'm doing is just making sure that that's sealed all the way along, and that's going to allow everything to sit. So super easy way of playing with that. But before I get into that, what I'm going to do is just create some more of those wings, slot them in. I'll be as quick as I can, and then we're going to decorate the front of it, because that's more what I'm bothered about, is you seeing those elements and bringing it together. But I did want you to see these little wings, and the card wouldn't be the same if I didn't have any decoration, so I am going to do some. So I'm just going to pull this forward again. Same thing, we fold it in half. Once it's folded in half, you just push back those bird wings, hold them so they're burnished, raise them so it becomes a solid piece. I don't want the inside of their glue in, that's the slot. So I'm going to take this little bit of wet glue, because this is what's going to stick at the front. So you need to make sure you've got enough on there that by the time you've got it in, so remember, drying time for glue, your best point is about 40 seconds. So just make sure you're giving yourself enough time. You are going to need to hold it together, and then I'm just going to slot that through, and where it's slotted, get it into place to where I want it to be. So I want this to be quite central. I'm putting it in the middle so I can show you how some sit forward and some sit back. Obviously, if I was making this card for a friend, or to sell, one of those things, I would be probably filling most of the shelves, most of the slots, but I'm not going to do that just for the sake of the fact that, you know, demo wise we don't have, otherwise I'm not going to get 2 demos, and I would like to. So again, third one, create those little wings, pull them forward, so you've got that. We're not gluing the inside, we're just gluing the back of those wings. Little bit of wet glue here, same again. Take it and hold it. If you find it easier for dexterity, you can use tweezers. And we're just going to slot that through, get it to where I want it to be before I commit, and then I can pull that down and I can hold it. Sorry guys, it's probably not the best visual for you guys, but is it all right? Can you see what I can see? So just here. I do apologise for my fingernails as well. They've never quite recovered, my fingernails, I will be honest. So this is, I mean, I'm celebrating because they're brilliant compared to what they were, and Miss Taz will agree with that, but they're not quite the prettiest fingernails in the industry. I did have a lot of trouble, but at least I've actually got fingernails now, which was more than I had for 2 years. So. Yeah, the finger glove thingies that I had to wear, yeah, for a year on air. That was fun. Right, so I'll pop something into those in a minute, but what I want to do is put my drawer fronts on so that it looks visually prettier, and it really pulls it together. And by that, I've got these 3 that Nick provided us with in order to create beautiful kind of French shabby chic elements. And aren't they pretty? Those gorgeous borders. And it really, really brings it together. Now you can use these in loads of different ways actually, but I'm going to use them as my drawer fronts, and it depends which way you want to use them. I like them facing down, but you could also have them facing up. It's entirely what you want to do. I just like them facing down. It makes more sense to me visually. So I'm going to take some wet glue, and I'm just going to run this. Yes, Miss Taz.
Just while you're doing that, loads of people have commented saying how they've bought the Harvest Echoes, but how they've also bought the lace ellipse card shape.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. Literally, I mean, I love, love, love Carnation for giving us options and allowing us to break things into smaller pieces if we need to. So, for instance, the fact that, you know, the lace ellipse is an extra rather than putting all of that in one bundle and it being pricey. You know, Carnation have always been fair with that, but especially with this collection, more so. That lace ellipse card shape works so well with this whole collection. It just does. It's just pretty. Let's place this on. So I'm going to do this on all 3. I do apologise if I'm boring you all, but this is how you'll be making it when you get it home, roughly. Yes, Miss Taz.
Terry over on YouTube has said that she's going to use this set for Christmas as well. So
Oh, I
tomorrow
love
she's
that,
on a
Terry.
mission.
If you think of all the little elements we've got for Christmas, you know when we did, let me think, it was Ready for Christmas and Gifted Christmas this year. They had all of the little presents that went on Santa's sleigh and all of those things. You could put the little presents on here. There's loads of little ways of playing with that as well.
Trees with a bookcase.
Yeah, the Scandi trees, all of the different things, because you could actually place some Scandi trees on either side, which would be beautiful, wouldn't they? A really gorgeous thing. And then if you use, sorry Terry, you've made me go off on a tangent. If you put two of these together, so if you doubled up on both of these and you pinned in some tiny lights, so just the light bits were coming out, but the wires were pinned between, so you can't see the workings, but the little lights would peek out. With those Scandi trees at the side, possibly even your scissor lift working, it's magic as well. The cards you could create for Christmas with this would be extraordinary. But not least, again, different ones for Easter as well. It's an all-rounder, isn't it? It's not a one-season card. I know it's called Harvest Echoes, but I don't buy into crafting in one way only. Let me just make sure I've got that. I want to just make sure that's burnished. So let me get those down so they're fully done. Right, let's have a look. I will put some extra pieces in there. I've got my drawer fronts now. Can you see how that transforms it into something very much decorated, isn't it? It's very pretty already. Now what I've done for today's demo, and I am going to show you, instead of just bringing you, because obviously when I was on Hobby Maker we're more limited for time, I've got these two elements here, okay, my lace ellipse. I'm going to go, hold on, let me be totally rebellious for a moment so that you get a better cued in version without the glass. I can place these just behind. You see how I then transform that again. Gorgeous, right? Now I've got options as well. I don't need to use those. What I could do is take them completely away. And add in those beautiful lattice side panels. Suddenly it changed again, right? Or I can add in my curtains and it changed again. Or I can add both. Or you see how we're changing it every time? So let me raise. There. So every time we transform what we're doing into something visually completely different, and it's really important. So it depends what seasons we're sending it for, it depends who you're sending it to, it depends how many different types of cards you want to make with this set, because you can make so many. None of this remains one particular thing, but we get different visual aspects every time. And then with the simple use of the curtain pole to finish this off, which I think is a lovely little touch. Isn't that so dramatic and so pretty? And visually it's different. If we take this away and you just use your imagination for a second, if we take that to a different visual stimulus, you can see the different shapings for it. It's beautiful. It's such a stunning set. And it's just extraordinary. Now I'm going to work with the lace ellipse rather than these just for this particular demo. But it doesn't really matter which one I use. Yes, Miss Tisdhouse.
Tracy's just asked, and I know that you're an expert at this. A quick question. How long would you leave the glue to dry?
Glue's my thing. I love glue. Not in that way. I just to be very clear, sorry, I just realised that sentence was probably inappropriate. How long would you leave the glue to dry? Well, Carnation's a different type of glue, so I can only talk to you about Carnation's glue because it is very specific. Their everyday glue is a really, I've not quite used PVA quite like it before, and I've used so much PVA in my life. Carnation's has got really low water content. So if I come to wear with you, I can show you now, if I come to wear it with you in a morning for an hour and I pour some everyday glue down, by the end of the show I can usually still get glue from it, wet glue from it, which is brilliant, but it starts to dry as that time goes out. With a lot of other PVAs, what it will do is almost, it'll react with the air, so it'll stay wet, but it'll get stringy. You know, when you try and lift it, loads of string comes with it. Carnations doesn't really do that. It has a modification of it. There is a little bit of that, but not much. What's really different about Carnation's glue is if I put it on, I've still got shift room. I can still move stuff about. It's got that wet glide still that you would expect from glue. But as soon as I press down, I commit it. So it sticks kind of instantly. Now, the difference with that is if you use too much of it, it's just going to stay wet. You never need a lot of glue. I know all of you are sick of me. I'm not going to stop saying it. Glue is sticky. We don't need a lot of it. And so consequently, the less you use, the more in control you are of it. It's a really important thing. And I know that not many people work that way, and I know not many people agree with me. Glue is sticky. You do not need a lot of glue. It's really, really, it's my biggest bugbear in life. Honestly, I know you all know this. Glue is sticky. Glue is sticky. You don't need a lot. It is definitely going to be on my headstone. Right, lace lips. Let's have a look at this on this side. Now I'll bring this back in so that I've got somewhere to work. Oh! So I'm going to stick to this to the inside of my front panel, so when the card opens it sits forward. I would get a different visual effect if I sat it at the back because I'm going to get a different perspective. So if that was the case and that was sitting there and I had my curtains at the front, can you see the gap that I get between the two? And this kind of peaks. Nice as well. It's a really beautiful way of playing with it. You choose whatever works for you in the card that you're making. What have I done with my applicator? Right, so for my applicator, so you got to work out now your placement. I'm going to work on that pip line that I've cut away. Tiny amounts. Don't really need much in the center because I think that's going to recess away. So I'll work on my end line instead, not going below it. And then I'm going to take my card, turn it over and raise. Then what I'm going to do is just seat this so I can see exactly where my floor point is, my grounding point. And this is where your glass mat's going to come in really handy because I can get that to exactly where I want it. I can't show you that visually very well. I do apologise. I'm trying to get you the best visual you can. But I'm just going to place that down and make sure that that is stuck where I want it to be. Okay, so that is now sitting pretty at the side, and isn't that beautiful? Really gives it a lovely, well, excuse the pun, it gives it an edge, right? So tiny amounts. There we go. The less glue you use, the less gloopy the pieces. You know those little weird black sort of balls that you get from glue, and you get them on your finger. It's part skin, part glue, and it goes all dark and grey and nasty. The less glue you use, the less you'll have that issue. Yes, Miss Tiztaz.
Just while you're sticking, Linda Poland says, I keep saying glue is sticky to Ben now.
To who?
Ben.
Your grandson.
And PRVA, sorry, I don't really know the user, says stunning, just bought.
Oh, well done. You're going to have so much fun. I'm so proud that this is something we can bring because it is so beautiful and man alive. There you go. Yes, Miss Tiztaz.
And Kate says, every time I'm crafting, my husband goes past and says, Carla says glue is sticky. Do you want a cuppa?
I'm so sorry. It really is my bugbear though. I think you all realise this. I need to stop saying it, but it gets me riled. So you can see I've got less of a gap on one side than the other. I'm not too worried about it because I'm going to close it. However, if you are making this card, make sure those two gaps are even, because mine isn't. I'm not worried because I'm going to put the curtains over the front of it so it won't be seen. But if you're going to do it just this way, please do make sure visually you're just correcting your center points, and it'll just help it look visually stronger. Like I say, I'm not worried because I'm going to put my curtains on, so that's not going to worry me at all. Now, my curtains can't stand lower than the floor of my card, because otherwise it's going to swing, and I don't want my card to swing. It will look odd. What I do want to make sure is that these are even. Now, the way that I'm going to ensure that is, where I've got the little stopping point, can you see where the wood grain changes here? Just in that corner, I'm going to utilise that visual. So I'm going to make sure that I'm down to the floor on both sides, and then I'm going to make sure I'm utilising that visual for me to get everything aligned. It just makes it easier for me. Where do I want my curtains to be? And the question is going to be, how do I want them shaping out? Do I want them to be dimensional, or do I just want them to be straight? So let's have a look at Nick's work and see why Carnation is so distinctive, why they are so elite, and this curtain probably outlines this in one of the greatest ways ever. Nick has placed in a ton of cut lines for us here, not by accident. They flow with the fabric. Really important. And all I need to do with this, and this I think shows the strength of Carnation so much. Can you see how that is now adjusting itself because of those cut lines? The cut lines are stronger, or less if you like, here, which means that's going to maintain its hold. This is going to allow it to flow, and I can shape it any which way I choose. And suddenly I have got a beautiful flowing piece of fabric. Really, really pretty. What I mean by that visually is the difference between one to other. See how that's flat and it has nothing? This one has a distinctive flow of fabric. You can see it most clearly at the bottom. Utilize that. Use Nick, well, not actually, because I don't think he'd like that very much, but utilize what he does for us. And that's a really strong example of it. I'm going to fill this with pin flare. I've got to tell you though, if I had it with me, I would be filling it with foam tape and not pin flare. So I would definitely be using, this is one example where foam tape, I believe, is a stronger resource than pin flare. Mainly because it's going to go through the ellipse card shape at the back. You find my visual cue up here. And place. Okay, I'm going to get that same dimension going on the other curtain so that I've got both of them the same just by pushing down. Remember, this is your strength on this whole piece. The rest of it will give wherever you want it to give, and you'll get this beautiful, gorgeous fabric flow. So don't manipulate this point too much. Absolutely a little shape out, but if you leave it pretty much where it is and just a gentle sort of shove pinch, you'll keep that gorgeous, gorgeous flow. Can you see how that's completely bent round? Beautiful. Gorgeous use of cut lines. Makes it such a pleasure to sculpt with. Coming in with your pin flare. You need that pretty thick, I'll be honest. Foam tape, definitely your best friend here. Measuring everything out on your glass mat. Keep things straight as far as you can. There you go. I'm just touching down on that pin flare to make sure it stays. Again, foam tape. Right, I need to get the curtain pole behind it, and I always wait for last. I know that sounds probably backwards in coming forwards, but if I do it the other way around and put the curtain rod down first, I've got to then manipulate the curtains to fit the curtain rod. I'd rather manipulate the curtain rod, not the other way around. So just placing. just going down behind so that I know I've got it in place. As soon as I've got that top piece of curtain there and there, I can commit on the rod. Okay, so now I've got that beautiful visual coming through, and I just need to make sure that stays in place. Like I say, I've used pin flare, it's going to shift and I don't really want that shift. Now I'll be very quick with this bit because I would try and like to get another demo in if I can, but I did want to show you this main card shape and ways of building. Let's play with the ball tool and let's see what we can come up with this. Not going to worry too much about the vase, but I am just going to go around the edges of it. So I'm just going to work where those fibres are broken, just around the edge, and then same again around this side. Then I'm going to work that line. You see where we've got this white line? I'm going to work above it. That's going to create a curve that my florals are going to work with. Now, normally I would tell you to shape each one of these individually, and I still stand by it because if you really went to town on this, you could get so much going. But we can do that with decoupage in this instance if it's easier. What I am going to do is, because I've got cut lines going down it, and what I want most of all is for a curvature on this. So you see where I've got this one here, and then I've got another one that sits below it and another one down here. They're right in that central line. I'm going to take my ball tool and I'm going to manipulate that line. So I'm going to use the bigger end first, and I'm going to work down, and I'm just going to break those fibres through. Then I'm going to take the smaller ball tool and I'm going to do the same. That's going to put pressure on the central point of where I have just sculpted. And now I'm going to take a bigger ball tool and I'm going to work my outside edge. I'm not going to worry about individuals, I'm just going to work my outside edge. And that is going to allow me to get at the curvature I can then manipulate absolutely to what I want, so I stay in control of the sculpt itself. So work your central line first, turn it over, and you've got something fairly odd. Where you've got your cut line here, pull. Where you sculpted, pull. Leave that curvature where it is, that's just going to give you that straight edge. Then take this, and where you manipulated, start to bring this round, and that is going to give you a really lovely construct. It will just look very visually very full. Simple sculpting. Just make sure you've broken your line there. Fill this and this. Place down. To the end, we want a grounding device so that it's not floating in midair. Okay. Suddenly we're getting somewhere, right? Very, very little added, but we're getting to that visual point. I've got the little acorn flourish here, and I'm going to parry out at the other side using this. So I'm getting my diagonal. So I'm just working within the confines of easy composition, nothing complicated, but just that beautiful visual. So I would shape these out. I'm not going to because of demo time, but use your ball tool, just shape. Now I'm putting small amounts of glue on most of this. Often I will say that I like to have things flowing freely. In this instance, I want this to be pinned down, and that is so it doesn't detract with the flow from anything else. So pinning, making sure I keep my shape because I've just flattened that. The great thing about pin flare obviously is you can keep remanipulating until it dries, and pin flare takes 24 hours, so you've got a bit of extra oomph on it, but foam tape is definitely your best friend. You see how we've got the flow, we've got the shift, and we've got that beautiful sculptural element. Yes, Mr. Sass.
So Linda Stevens says the curtain pole is a fantastic accessory, but we have a birthday girl watching today. It is Alison's birthday.
Alison, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to Alison. I can't sing happy birthday to you, yay. Happy birthday, lovely lady. Right, I won't sing for you again, it's fine. It's fine, I accept, it's fine. Right, I'm going to lift this, pull this down. I'm now going to start working from the front. If you can visualize, are you okay to go to the back camera, Miss Taz, so that I can work this way? Is that okay?
I was doing it.
Well, I'm very sorry. It's just I can't show this on overhead. Right, let me see if I can pin it. This is probably not even going to be any better for you. I do apologise, but I'm just going to tuck this into here. Hey up, I'm losing my curtain pole. See, when you're doing this at home, it's much easier to just tuck. Let me... Right, hey up, bag shot, get control. I'm going to do it this way because demo, I cannot. Right. There we go. If I can just manipulate that open. Can you see there on the visuals? I'm so sorry, guys. It's one of those card shapes that you need to work with because it's construction. So I've got that there. In order to obviously seat that, I'm going to need to make sure that that just very gently, without me damaging anything, just sits back. And that gives me my next shelf. And then I've got one more to do, and I'll just pop a candle on the top one. I'm not putting a lot of detail into this, guys. Obviously, when you're at home, you're going to fill your shelves, but you get the gist. And that's what I want to know, is that are you all comfortable when you get home with knowing what to do with this? That's our goal in demo, is just, are you happy with the instruction, so to speak? So I'm just going in with my pokey just to give me a little bit of extra ease. Just to poke that little candle through. Isn't it clever? So pretty and so clever. Now I'm not going to go any further with the decoration, just purely because if I do, I can either decorate this or I can do you another demo, and I think another demo might be more valuable at this stage for you, as long as you know what you're doing. What have I done here? Oh, there it is. Right, let me push this down, pull this forward, and I'll show you that from the front. So you've got your vague visual. Get me flowers straight. Bye, heck. That's like me on a Friday night. Let's make sure that's straight. There we go. That's better. Now we're getting into the things. So you can see this is so easy to create, to make really beautiful dimensional pieces. And to get your 3D pieces going, make sure you're burnishing where these are so they sit forward. And if you're posting, maybe do two, maybe double them up, because you've got to do double your vignettes, and maybe that will just give you extra supple support, if that's what you wish. Wish I had supple support for my back at the minute. That would be a very joyous thing. So there you go. You're going to fill those really beautiful, add in some extra pieces. That little goose on wheels, the duck on wheels, looks beautiful on here as well. It's that beautiful whimsy, but isn't it nice to create our own shop? We get to play, we get to bring in all these extra elements and all these gorgeous details. Really, really important piece. Now I'm going to go on to another demo, and I'm just going to very quickly, I won't be long on the next one, I promise, because I think I've already taken you over. But on the next one, I'm just going to show you how an example of using the lacer lip. I won't be long, I promise. And I will let you all go, rather than jibber-jabbering. Now, very worryingly on this, I have got written CCTV, which is Carnation Crafts TV, which meant I've done something on here. Possibly because there's decoupage elements, and I won't have time at Hobby Maker, but I'll make it quick. But I obviously very specifically meant to show this on here and not on Hobby Maker. Right, so I've got my card base, I've cut it twice. As always, we are going to fold that back, burnish, remove your red liner, back again and towards the body. 2, shuffle, straight, down, commit. Easy peasy, Miss Towns, easy peasy. Right, I'm working. You'll all be horrified and surprised to know white on white. Foam tape so that my white doesn't eat itself. Get those aligned as best as I can here. Place down, push, pull. Look at this white on white. Isn't that just all of the wow echo on it, isn't it? The pretty, pretty, pretty. Look at this. Glorious lace detail. Obviously, you'll do yours straighter. Push, pull. And then my panels. Now what I'm going to do here is add in a tone. So I've got white on white, and then I'm going to use my blue panel in the center, which I love the idea of creating china and lace together, and those very pale blues remind me very much of china pots and china plates, and then adding in the white too. Oh, it's just pretty. So all I want is a hint of this. I don't want it to be dominant, and I don't want it to dominate. So a hint. So now I take it back to white. I've just got that border, that's all it is. But this one, everything else has been on a 3mm, this is on a 1mm. I want it flat-ish. I still want definition, and I still want a step, but I want the blue to show. So by using a 1mm, I'm pretty much pressing them together, but I still get that lovely kind of, it looks almost more beveled when you've got the colour, and so the 1mm will just give you that extra oomph, but without dominating. So consequently, my shapes are all at different heights, and that's how I want it. I want to play with shape and dimension. Now, I'm going to be super quick, but one thing that I don't often talk about, because I often talk about shaping, is decoupage, and I don't tend to do a huge amount of decoupage as a rule. I'm going to work with this on the horizontal. For now anyway. So what I'm going to do is leave these two flat, and I'm going to meet them in the middle, and I've got a sentiment to go on to the top, and that's going to cover the vases. So now I just get this beautiful floral display. Stunning, right? No effort on my part. There you go. There's a carnation card for you, already done without any effort at all. I am going to decoupage though, because I would like to explore that a little bit. Yes, Miss Towns, were you about to say something, or were you stretching?
No, stretching.
Oh, she was stretching. So little amounts of wet glue, not much. I don't really need to say that anymore, do I? Let me make sure I've got my midpoint, and I can see that because I've got the two sort of bulbous pieces there. Place that down. Same at the other side. Down in that center point there. Meet them in the middle, so that I know that I'm pretty much exact on both sides. Okay, so you've got these two pieces that are sitting. I'm going to take my sentiment now, and I'm going to place it on, and the reason being is that's where I know that I can fit my decoupage around. And let's just explore decoupage a little. I know most of you, and if not all of you, decoupage a lot, but let's play in demo with that. Sending you smiles. Okay, we've already got a really stunning visual there. It's really pretty, isn't it? But I just want to explore the idea of then shaping out on top. And one of the questions I get asked a lot is, do I shape from the top or the bottom? You know, do I want them to be cupped or bowled over? And it doesn't really matter. A lot of it's to do with whether I would be posting it. If I'm posting it, I'm very unlikely to use things cupped upwards, because they'll catch on the envelopes, whereas if they're bowled downwards, it would be a smoother surface for the envelope. So it's going to depend on that a lot as well. A lot of it's visually, what do I want? Do I want them to sit almost as, you know, spherical? Do I want almost, you know, they're sort of sitting with those spheres, or do I want it to look very sort of bulbous? Now, most people will, when they're using decoupage, will cup upwards. It makes sense to do that because petals would do that, right? But a lot of it then depends on what you're trying to achieve on the visual as well. So don't always be dictated to by what is necessarily the norm, because sometimes when we explore opposition, we get something different and it looks beautiful. Just because it's not necessarily what other people would expect doesn't make it wrong, it makes it yours. So play with decoupage and allow yourself to explore those different elements, because it's a beautiful way of finding the difference. Now I'm going to shape out some flowers here, so while I'm doing that, because it will take me a couple, I am just going to say you can find this on the Carnation Crafts website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. 230901 is the number for it. $98.99 today, but it will obviously go back to its usual price of $109.99, and it's free UK P&P. Yes, Miss Taz.
Linda Stevens, well, both Linda Stevens and Linda Wilson have said that white on white is lovely, but Linda Stevens has also added that decoupage is my first love, and it's always my go-to. I especially like Carnation craft flowers. They are so pretty and useful.
They're gorgeous, aren't they, Linda? When we start to shape them out, it gives us a really beautiful shift in how we're working. And decoupage is a really important factor in card making. Just because I don't do a lot of it doesn't mean to say that I don't absolutely worship the value of it, because I do. It's just time often with decoupage when we're demonstrating, because we're constrained, she says, still yabbering on. But you know what I'm saying, I don't always have the time to do it. And often with Carnation, because we can sculpt, we can get a rough visual without going there. But then when we sculpt main pieces out and then we start adding decoupage, we're on fire with Carnation, right, Linda? And obviously you obviously know that with your experimentations. So I've got my flowers here. I'm going to cup these out. I don't normally, so let's play. I'm going to bowl them outwards, and so let's see what happens there. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to use my small ball tool, and I'm just going to work in spirals here. So working with my broken fibres first on the outside and then working to the inside. So I get that beautiful cup. And I'm going to do the same here. Now actually one thing I will talk to you about, and I'll do this very, very quickly. If I do this and I turn it over, so this one bowls the other way, I'm just going to show you the difference. If I was to sit this, say, inside here, it'll give it a little bit of a lift because I'd have pin flare in between it, right? But one of the other ways that I can create more height is by taking that one bowled down and take this one bowled up, and suddenly the height difference will be extraordinary. So that will be there and it will give me that height, but if I turn it over, that's just going to sort of sit in there. It's going to have a little bit of dimension, and I'll keep with that, and we'll do that as one decoupage, and then the other ones I will just do as I want them to be on. But it's a nice little way of playing. Everything is an assist. So I've got that there. Working from the out and working in. Aren't they pretty, these pieces? There's no throwaway with Carnation. It's really, really valuable in that way. Although I do keep finding bits of decoupage in my bed, on my floors, up my stairs. Hazard of the job, I believe. Right, let me turn these over, and these are the last four that I'll do. So it's really simple sculpting here. We're just spiraling, nothing more. That gorgeous dense foam mat which allows me to just shape and shape. So I'll keep those florals next to me, and then I'm going to work with pin flare. Now, one of the ones that we'll do will be the one I was just saying about. So I'm going to put this one here first, and then I'll build the other one on top of it, and we'll just look at the difference in height. So I'm going to place this in, pin flare there, push down, just gently, let your adhesion take. And then I'm going to take another one, and I'll pin flare it as such the right way. And you'll see this just sit on top, and you'll see that height difference that comes through. Okay, so now you can see I've got this lovely, you can see where it's already popping, right? If I do it just normally, which I'll do with one on this side, so I'll do opposing sides, it won't be quite as high, you won't get quite the same pop. Can I do that way so you can see the difference? So you can see on this one I'm gaining height, whereas this one I'm still gaining height, but just a different amount. So play with that, you know, play with using some upside down, some the right way, tilt some, just play it in those senses, and you'll get a different feel for what you've got. Just seating these in. Just so pretty. Decoupage is probably one of the first things I ever remember as being a craft thing. My auntie once bought me a Holly Hobby tile that was decoupaged up, and I always remember it, even now, and I think I was 2 when I got it. Just playing with these. You can start to see all that lift and that raise. Now, obviously, if you're playing with pin flare, you're going to need to leave this for 48 hours. It's going to have to dry. Because obviously it'll squish everywhere. You can do it with foam tape. You can use your tiny, tiny foam pads. That'll give you a little bit of height as well. If you want more, you can add a couple together. If you're adding more together when you're using just little foam pads, especially on something as small as this, I would be more inclined to just use 1 or 2 in height and no more, because you'll see it and it won't look beautiful. Whereas obviously pin flare dries clear. You can still see it, but it dries clear and it's not quite so garish. But we suddenly have oodles and oodles of dimension and just this really beautiful shaping, and you can see it all, how it comes forward, and all of those gorgeous florals sitting and seated really beautifully in a really strong dimensional force. So if I turn that forward so you can see it, and you can see the dimension on that coming through, and the different heights and the way we play with textures there. You see? So just using gentle amounts. I'd be inclined, I think, to push that one ever so slightly to hide my pin flare a little more. But they are the minutiae that you can deal with, obviously, when you're creating. Really easy to create stunning cards with Carnation, isn't it? There's something about with the way we play with it, because everything visually, as far as the art is considered, sort of, you know, when you go to supermarkets and you buy baguettes that are half baked and you bake them in the oven, that's how I kind of think of Carnation. Part of the artwork's done for us, so you get the part baked bit and we bake the rest with our own creativity and our own imagination. Just because I have a baguette from the supermarket doesn't mean I'm going to put the same fillings in as you or you with I, and that's the glorious, glorious nature of art, isn't it? We're all going to craft differently. So our part-baked baguettes from Carnation, this gorgeous artwork that we receive, is then ours to create and provide art and do all of the gloriousness that we like to do with creativity. So it's a really important thing and really joyful thing. This is Harvest Echoes. It's brought to you by Carnation Crafts. It's on their website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. The number's 230901. It's a usual price of $109.99, but Carnation are giving you 10% discount today if you use the code in your newsletter, and that will take it down to $98.99. Free UK P&P because it's over the £50 threshold. If you want to buy the lace die that we've been looking at today as well, which is stunning, and that is not part of the main collection, but your Lace Ellipse card is certainly worth having, let me tell you. That's $29.99, 230908. Just to show you that in metal form, it is absolutely glorious. You've got all of your elements here that you'll be playing with. Look at the detail on it. Cut Tidy is going to be your best friend when you're cutting that. It will help you weed everything out. Cut Tidy, if you haven't used it, it's an extraordinary thing, and you'll see different demos for that through different tutorials that we've done. You can also go to the Carnation Crafts website where you'll see it. P&P is all different in the US or for international customers. Your shipping handle in there will be $4.95 if you're just buying the bundle, $14.95 if you're buying the whole set, and please don't forget to get your perfect papers as well, which is the perfect match to this whole collection. They'll be on the Carnation Crafts website too, www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Yes, Miss Taz.
I just want to tell them about shows coming up.
Okay.
Right, so on Monday the 16th,
Oh, it's pretty.
we've got Rustic Delight Expansion Pack at 11 a.m.
It's really pretty. It's like an extension almost to Sheer Delight. It is glorious.
Then on the 18th at Hobby Maker, we've got Joyful Journeys, a brand new USB, which I remember somebody in the comments was talking about. So this one is for you.
It is.
At 2 and 6. And then on the 20th, we have a Crafters Select at 10 a.m.
Also gorgeous.
It's all on the calendar.
So if you go onto the Carnation Crafts website, on the home page, one of the options on the tab is calendar. If you go to that, it'll tell you exactly what's coming up. Excuse me. It's all colour coded for you. Miss Taz has given me a cold and I can't stop coughing. I do apologise. And also, massive thank you to Miss Taz, because she's not very well today and she still has been an angel. There's all the upcoming shows for you, everything you need to know. Please don't forget to check the deal of the day on the calendar, on the website as well, every single day, because that will be something different. Where we have, what are you saying, Miss Taz? I can't see what you're saying.
It's fine. We also need to remember that to keep checking the calendar, because there are random flash sales that happen.
That is true. There are random flash sales that Carnation do, and even I don't get told in advance when they are. You just need to keep checking the calendar and see if you can get money off all of the things.
You look like I've like done something
I
while
know,
we
I
went
look
to
like
the
I've been
website.
She has. It's just where I've been coughing. I do apologise. Right, I will see you all really, really soon. So I'll see you on Monday with the Rustic Delight.
Yes, at 11.
At 11 o'clock in the morning. Thank you all so much for your company. I'll see you soon. Have a lovely weekend. Take care.